Okay, hello. Today we're going to continue the topic of the fluvial processes. Okay, so this is for the S4 geography. So last time I have already introduced like the different sections along the river. We mentioned different characteristics along the river, such as like upper course, middle course, and lower course. And we talk about like what are the factors that may affect the energy along the river in different sections. Okay, so such as like the roughness. Okay, and today, I'm going to talk about what what kind of major fluvial process that could be found along the river. Okay, so if you have your textbook, okay, if you have your textbook, you may turn to page 23. Okay, 23. So the first part we're going to talk about like how does a river erode the land. But before we talk about like the process, the fluvial process that can erode the land, we need to know that like first what exactly the fluvial process that may occur along the river. So in general, we can say the fluvial process it can be divided into three type of process. So they are erosion, okay? They are erosion, transportation, and also deposition, and also deposition. So you may understand this, okay? Like what would be erosion, transportation, and erosion. For erosion, it means that the material of a place that is carried away. So therefore, it means, okay, so the material of a place that is reducing, reducing. And then for, or you may say it like the relief or not exactly maybe the rocks, okay, the landscape, actually the size of the rocks, okay, that could be reducing. And then for transportation, so that would be easy. For transportation, it means so the material would be carried from one place to another place. So therefore, it means like the process such as like moving, moving. And then for that position, it means the material, especially like the load, okay, that would be deposited in one place. Therefore, the amount of the material, it will keep increasing. So therefore, that would be the three type of fluvial process, okay, erosion, transportation, and also deposition. Okay, today we are going to discuss like what is erosion. We're going to talk about erosion mainly today. So first, let's have a look. How does a river erode the land? Okay, how does a river erode the land? When we observe the river, such as like this, okay, such as like this. So this is a picture that shows the scene in the upper course. This is upper course. Why we may say this is upper course? I hope you still remember last time when we talk about like the characteristic of the river. Okay, so for upper course, you can see the width of the river that is relatively narrowed. Okay, this is narrowed, and then the depth of the river that is also shallow. That's why you can see there's lots of boulders. Okay, so these are the boulders could be found along the river at the riverbed, and we would say like the riverbed in this section that is relatively rough. Therefore, the friction, okay, so along this river that is quite high, that is quite high. So this is the case about the upper course. And then one more. You can see, of course, the water that is moving. Then why it is related to like erosion, okay? So when we mention like erosion. So first you should mark this, okay? That is when there will be when that will be the most important when there's running water. Running water. Water would be running water or the river water that would be the major agent, okay, that may lead to erosion. You can understand it as like it is an agent, okay, that is an agent that may lead to erosion. And then this agent that can remove rocks or other material, removes rock or other mineral particle from the banks and also the bed. And you can see that from this part, bank and bed, that is where erosion will be taking place. Okay, and for the name of the process, we can call it fluvial erosion. So apart from the running water, what could be the other agent that may lead to erosion as well? Okay, you can see that the load carried by the river, such as rock debris, okay, such as rock debris, it can be also regarded as the agent of erosion. Agent of erosion. So therefore, two type of agent. The first one, so running water. The second one, the debris. Okay, the debris, the rocks, the rocks. And then for fluvial erosion or for erosion, so it will be taking place in three direction in a river, and this three direction, namely in the downward, sideways, and also backward. It can deepen, widen, and lengthen a river. So what would be the three type of no, not three types, the three different direction of erosion? So let's have a look. Okay, so I'm going to explain first the direction of erosion. Okay, direction of erosion. So there will be three direction of erosions. Okay, that, that is too. That is too wide. Okay. The direction of erosion. Okay, so maybe this one that will be better. So there will be three direction of erosion. The first one, we can say it that is like a down downward. Okay, downward. And that one we can call it vertical erosion. Vertical erosion. So what would be like vertical erosion? So with this drawing, you can see that. So imagine that this is the cross section of a river. Okay, this is the cross section of the river. Cross section of river. Downward erosion. Downward erosion. It mainly taking place at the riverbed. Riverbed. It means here. It means here. Okay. So therefore, when vertical erosion that is taking place, so the riverbed will be deepened, and then that is what we call vertical erosion. So remember the result, okay, the result of vertical erosion, that is the river will be deepened, okay, and it's taking place at the riverbed, and we call this vertical erosion. So therefore, that would be the first one. Then the second one, from your textbook, okay, from your textbook, another direction that is called like in sideways, okay, and this kind of erosion we may call it lateral erosion. And what would be like lateral erosion? So let's have a look about my drawing. Okay, again, if it is the cross section of the riverbed, okay, the cross section of the riverbed. So lateral erosion, it will mainly taking place at both sides of the river. It means at the river banks here. Here, at the river banks. So therefore, what would be the result? After the lateral erosion? Okay, so the river channel may be widened. Okay, so the erosion would be taking place on both sides of the river banks. So therefore, the river will be widened, and this kind of erosion we would call it lateral erosion. And the implication, so that would be very simple. So for the first one, we may say after the vertical erosion, the river will be deepened, and then the second one, after lateral erosion, okay, the river will be widened. Okay, it will be widened. So for both river valley and the river channel, it would be widened. Okay, then the last one. The last direction of the erosion. Okay, from your textbook, it mentioned the word backward. And this type of erosion, we would call it headward erosion. For headwork erosion, some students may find that could be a little bit complicated to understand. Why? It is because, okay, you may refer to my next drawing like this. So this time I'm not going to draw a cross section, but it is a long profile. Okay, of the river. So imagine that would be like a slope. Okay, this is a slope. Of course, there should be the river flowing downstream. Okay, and at this point, we can say this is the river source. Okay, where does headwork erosion occurred? Headwork erosion occurred at the point of river source. Okay, then through the process of headwork erosion, those area, it could be eroded away at the point of river source. Why? It is because river source, we can see that the water actually that is running, the running water at the river source. So therefore, that it is like an agent that may lead to erosion there. So therefore, the material at the source here, okay, it could be erode away, and there could be like a new, I won't say nude, there could be the remove of the material, and then the river that may extend, okay. This one we call it headwork erosion, and the implication that is, we may say the river would be lengthened. We can see that the river that is longer. That's why somehow we may say the river source, okay, that may extend it or extends backward, extend backward. So you should know that after headwork erosion, okay, so the length of the river would be longer, as the major implication, the major impact of headwork erosion that is lengthen the river at the river source. So therefore, that would be about like the three directions, okay, of um, erosion, three direction. And of course, you may refer to figure 13, okay, you can see like a summary for that. But for my drawing, okay, so I hope you can have better understanding from my drawing. And in this figure, you can also see that like it showed clearly. So what should be the direction, okay, of the erosion, both headward, lateral, and also vertical. Okay, after we finish the direction of erosion, then we would talk about like what type of fluvial erosion there could be found at the river. For the fluvial erosion, remember, mainly we would say there would be four types of fluvial erosion. Okay, four. So what are these four types of fluvial erosion? Okay, I will start from the first one. First one here. Okay, the first one we call it solution, or like corrosion. Corrosion. So what would be solution and corrosion? It means when the water dissolve the soluble minerals in the rocks, such as, okay, in the rocks there could be a lot of minerals such as calcium, okay. If the water dissolve the mineral of the rock, those minerals will be carried away by the water. Therefore, that would weaken the rocks and make it break up easily. So the rocks will be break up. Originally, it could be like a large rock, and if due to some process, that one we mentioned here, there will be the erosion process. Okay, so the rocks may break, become smaller, become smaller. This is exactly what we call erosion process. So solution and corrosion, that would be the first type. The age or not the agent, the mineral, okay, so carry away mainly what we call the soluble mineral, okay, soluble mineral. So the size that is relatively small, the size that would be relatively small. So therefore, that would be the first type. And then the second type of erosion, we call it abrasion. Abrasion. So what is like abrasion? Okay, from the reading, the load carried by the river rubbed against the bed and banks. This is the main process of vertical erosion. The channel beds and banks become less uneven. Okay, so what is exactly abrasion? For abrasion, okay, so you may refer to my drawing, or actually you can see that in your textbook. Okay, abrasion. So let me draw a cross section, okay, a cross section of a riverbed first. Okay, so imagine that that would be the cross section of the riverbed, and then normally what can be found? What can be found at the riverbed? It could be some paddles or boulders or small stone. Okay, so in the river. So what is abrasion? Okay, so this is abrasion. Abrasion, it means when the water that is flowing, that is moving, whatever, okay, that is moving, somehow, okay, that made moved the paddles, moved the small stone, okay, in the river. And the most important, that is when those small paddles or stones that moved, that move, okay, at the riverbed, at the riverbed. So when those stones that hit, or you may understand that hit the riverbed, from your textbook it mentioned the word that is rubbed against the bed, okay, must be riverbed, must be riverbed or banks. So the material, okay, at the riverbed or riverbank may be weakened or be carried away. And this one, that is what we call abrasion. Abrasion. Okay, so it mainly taking place in riverbed. That would be the second process of fluvial erosion. Then the third one, attrition. 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 That is another type of erosion. So what would be attrition? So let's have a look about the reading first. Okay. So attrition, it means the piece of rock in the lode collide and break into small pieces. This makes the lode smoother and more rounded. That is what attrition. That is what we call attrition. So for attrition, that is very very simple, like this. Okay, I'm going to draw a cross section of the river again. Okay, imagine that that would be the cross section of river. Attrition, it means that like in the river, there could be two pieces of rock. Okay, so when the water that is flowing, that two pieces of rock that may hit each other. So therefore, those rock could be break down or weakened to become smaller pieces. And this one, that is what we call attrition. Okay, attrition. So the keywords we would use for that process, that is when the rocks collide. Okay, when the pieces of rock collide, then it will be broken into small pieces. So therefore, that would be attrition. Okay, then the last one, the last fluvial process, hydraulic action. Hydraulic action. For hydraulic action, this is also easy to understand. For hydraulic action, okay, so let's have a look. What is hydraulic action? So that is when the force of running water remove the loose rock particle from the bed and banks. From the bed and banks. Okay. When water hit the banks, water is pushed into cracks. Air in the cracks become compressed, pressure increase, and in the rock breaks, repeated actions and large cracks. Rocks are loosened and removed. The banks may collapse. That is hydraulic action. For hydraulic action, okay, so I would say this is one of the easiest process to be understood among that four fluvial process. Why? It is because hydraulic action it means the power of running water. The power of running water that lead to the break of rock, okay, at some cracks. So what can it be? Imagine that. So this one I will use the case of this to demonstrate. When the water that flow downward, of course we know that that is like the case of waterfall. That is like the case of waterfall. When the water that's fall from the high place to the lower place, you can see that the power of the moving water, it could be very great. Therefore, if there's any cracks, especially at the bottom part of the waterfall, after repeating fall of water, so those cracked, it could be enlarged. It could be enlarged. It could be enlarged. Or some, and then the rocks would be carried away. So after a long period, so the riverbed, okay, at the bottom of waterfall, it could be deepened. And this is the part of what we call like hydraulic action. Of course, I may tell you, at the bottom part of riverbed, so besides hydraulic action, okay, there would be another process that may lead to this vertical erosion. That is also abrasion. So therefore, hydraulic action, like, and also abrasion, so that may lead to the vertical erosion at the bottom of the waterfall. Okay, so remember, for hydraulic action, so mainly that is due to the excess of the power of the running water. Then it may enlarge the breaks, enlarge the cracks, and then it breaks the rocks, and the rocks will be removed. So therefore, that would be the four type of fluvial erosion: solution, or what we call like corrosion, abrasion, attrition, and hydraulic action. Okay, please mark this, or you may highlight this in your textbook, okay, especially for abrasion, attrition, and hydraulic action. For abrasion, okay, abrasion, so normally that would affect the riverbed and river banks, okay, that would lead to vertical erosion, or sometimes that could be the lateral erosion as well. And then for hydraulic action, also that is for riverbed and riverbanks. But for attrition, so the process of attrition, it will only affect the load itself. Okay, the load will become smoother and also more rounder. That's why, like this case, in the upper course, okay, you can see this powder, okay, so that would be like in irregular shape. And normally, we won't see that kind of shape of the boulders at the lower course. It is because after long traveling from upper course to lower course, this boulder, okay, would become smaller due to the process of attrition. So therefore, for attrition, so remember that would only affect the load itself. The load itself. Okay, then after the four process of erosion, right now we're going to talk about like what are the factors that may affect the rate of erosion. Okay, so there will be three factors that may affect the rate of erosion. They are: the first one, erosive power of a river; the second one, the type of rock itself; and the third one, human activities. Okay, so this is related to what we have discussed in the previous section. Okay, first one, for the erosive power. Erosive power that is affected by the first one, okay, the characteristic of load. When there's more load, okay, there will be more tools of erosion. And then if the load that is heavier and or angular, so that would give a greater potential of erosion. So the first one, that is about the characteristic of load in a river. So more load, it means more tools for erosion. So I hope you can mark this. That is especially like for the process of abrasion, and also attrition. Abrasion and attrition. Okay, then the second one, important, that is related to the energy of the river. The greater the energy, the greater erosive power. Okay, mark a star for this one. Okay, so what that may affect the energy of the river? So include the speed of river flow, the speed of water flow. Faster the water flowed, okay, greater the energy, The amount of channel flowed, more water, more discharge, more energy. And then slope gradient, steeper the gradient, faster the water flow. Okay, so therefore that is what we have discussed in the previous sections about like how the velocity, how the discharge, how the gradient that may affect the energy of the river. So higher energy, higher the erosive power. And I would say this is especially important of the process of hydraulic action. This is especially important of hydraulic action, okay? And then the third one. So what that may affect the erosive power of a river? Water quality. So if the pH value of the water that is relatively acidic, okay? So acidic water actually that would favor the process of solution. And some soluble minerals would be carried away easily by the process of solution. Okay, so therefore, this is the first one about the erosive power of a river. Okay, then the second one. So, what factors that may affect the rate of fluvial erosion? Okay, the second one that would be type of rocks. So, what type of rocks that would have better chance or higher chance for erosion? Okay, the first one that would be more cracks. Okay, the first type, if the rocks that is more cracks, so it means the water that can go inside to carry out like hydraulic action or solution. When the cracks that is enlarged, it may it may provide a higher chance for abrasion as well. Okay, so therefore rocks with more cracks, okay, that may favor erosion. And then the second one, that is when the rocks that is more soluble mineral, okay, so it means the mineral can be easily carried away, so it will also favor the process of erosion. So therefore, that would be the second one, type of rocks. Okay, then the third one, how human activities that may affect or that may sometimes increase the rate of erosion. The first one, deforestation. For this, we should use the concept of water cycle again. Okay, water cycle again. So you can see the explanation that could be like this. So less vegetation cover, there will be more overland float. Then more rocks and stone would be washed into river. So therefore, there will be more tools for erosion. And that is exactly similar to the first point we have just mentioned related to the characteristic of load. Okay, when there's more rocks or stone, it means abrasion and also attrition would be taking place, would be taking place easily. Okay, then the second human activities that may lead to more erosion, urbanization. So what would be the implication of urbanization? Okay, when urbanization that is taking place, therefore more surface would be covered with cement. Okay, so when there will be cement surface, it means the permeability of the surface would be reduced. Therefore the infiltration of the place would be reduced, and it will lead to, you may mark this as well. Okay, the surface runoff will increase. The surface runoff will increase. So when the surface runoff increase, the river discharge that will increase too. Then greater the river energy. So that would be the first explanation. Okay. The second one, that is when there's any slope cutting. Okay, slope cutting, it means slope cutting for urbanization. It means like this. I would say this is very, very common in Hong Kong. So imagine that is like a normal slope, normal slope. If we want more fat land, sometimes we need to carry out the process of slope cutting. For slope cutting, that could be like this. Okay, so we may remove this part. Okay, we may remove this part and then place the material here. We may place the material here. So the nude area, it will be like this. And then people can have the the buildings, okay, the buildings, or they can build the roads. So therefore, that could be for the vehicle, something like that. So that is the process of slope cutting. So what would be the implication of slope cutting towards the erosion? For slope cutting, it will increase the slope gradient. Okay, you can see that there would become steeper. So this is what we call the increase in gradient. Okay, increase in gradient. So when the gradient that is increased, then there will be more overland flow, more surface runoff, and there will be more channel water, and it will lead to more energy. So therefore, for the 2 point, okay, so you can also see that that is when energy increase. So therefore, the erosive power it will increase too. But for this point, urbanization, there will be two examples that shows wide urbanization, okay, that may change the landscape. Okay, then the last one, that is industrial farming or other activities. For industrial or farming or some domestic activities, okay, so how that may increase or how it may affect the rate of fluvial erosion. That is, it may produce the sewage, okay, produce sewage pollutants, okay, to the river. So therefore, the acidity of the river water it may increase. That may favor the process of solution as well. So here, that is all the factor, okay, that is all the factor that may affect the fluvial erosion. Okay, include erosive power of a river, type of rocks, and also human activities. So therefore, that is about like what would be the major concept of fluvial erosion. Okay, right now let's have a summary of this lesson. Okay, when we talk about like fluvial erosion, so what have we learned for this lesson? First, we have learned there will be directions three directions of fluvial erosion. They are vertical erosion. Vertical erosion. Okay, vertical erosion, it means the riverbed would be deepened. Okay, and then the second one, the lateral erosion. Lateral erosion, it means that the riverbed, okay, it will be widened. Then the third one, we call it backward erosion. Backward erosion, it means that would be the lengthening of the river or the extent of the river source. Okay, extent of the river source. So therefore, we have learned three direction, and also we have learned four erosion types. Okay, four erosion types. So the first one that would be solution, or what we call the corrosion. So the minerals of the rocks, the minerals of the riverbed will be carried away as the mineral will be dissolved in the river. The second one, abrasion. So erosion would be taking place at the riverbed or banks. That would lead to vertical erosion. Okay, and then attrition. Attrition. So both piece of rock flowing in the river, they would hit against each other. So therefore, they may be broken down, and become smaller pieces. And this one, that is what we call attrition. That is mainly for the load. Then the last type of erosion we have learned, that would be hydraulic action. So that is caused by the power of the running water. Okay, if the power caused by the running water that is larger, okay, so sometimes the cracks at the riverbed, the cracks in the rocks, okay, will be enlarged. So that may also lead to vertical erosion as well. And then, the last one, after we have learned the process, we have learned what factors that may affect the fluvial erosion. So the first one, they are the erosive power of river. Okay, erosive power of river. Then the second one, that would be the types of rock, type of rock. And then the last one, okay, so human activity, human activities. So therefore, that is about like the explanation, and also of course the mainly the explanation and the description of the fluvial process. Okay, so that would be the end of this part. Next time I will talk about transportation and also deposition. Okay, so this is the end of this online sections. Again, if you have any problems, if you have any questions, so you may email me. Okay, you may email me, or you may use this number, okay, to WhatsApp me. It will be all right to ask me questions. And also, please pay attention to the announcement or to the task in the Google Classroom. Okay, so therefore, that's all for today. Okay, goodbye.